All right, so today we're going to talk about the pocket. It's a term you've heard a million times and it's gone on too long without any kind of proper definition. So in the video we're going to define it. We're also going to talk about how to write for it, and I'm going to show you some cool tips and tricks that I've always used for writing a bass line with a drummer or some kind of backbeat. Now, this video is really for beginner bass players who want to start off on the right foot. It's going to be for bass players who are, maybe have already been playing for a while, but they've never really written bass lines to some kind of drummer or some kind of backing beat as well. And thirdly, it's going to be for guitarists who are coming over to bass playing. And the reason why I bring them up is because the pocket is the thing they seem to neglect the most. You can pick out a guitarist who's playing bass from a million miles away, because their bass lines tend to serve no master. They're never a main melody line that serves the song, but they definitely are not some kind of rhythmic thing that's carrying the song on as well. It seems to be some kind of jangly mess somewhere in the middle. So I think this video is going to be really good for them, and this is going to be tackling a comment that was in a previous video that I wanted to address, and I thought it would be just a perfect opportunity to talk about the pocket, because that seems to be what a lot of guitarists coming over to bass playing are missing, while still taking it as an opportunity to show you just my train of thought and how I go about writing bass lines to a drummer or to some kind of backbeat. So I think we're just going to jump right on into it. I'm going to show you some cool tips and tricks, and I think you're going to be able to apply those to your own bass playing and put your own style onto it. And let's get at it.
All right, cool. So we're going to jump right on in. The first thing I want to do when I'm writing a bass line is identify where the kick is. Because of that, I can decide what I want to do with it, but it's probably going to be one of my building blocks. Not always the case. I'm going to show you other cases, but I'm just going to identify the kick. So it looks like he just 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, and then eventually he goes into a fill and brings it back. Fill, 1. Let's play with that. Cool. So that time, I was meeting all the kicks again, but with an octave afterwards. And I was looking for other things he's doing. He's doing this fill. I was trying to add something with that too. I'm identifying what he's doing and trying to give him a bass version of that. But he's doing more than that, isn't he? We hear a lot of hi-hat work. There's a lot going on there. I'll show you something really cool I like to do that never gets in a drummer's way, but kind of enhances his hi-hat work, and that is muting the strings while using the same kind of notes as he's doing. So in this case, 8 notes, right? Those aren't real notes. It's just noise. It's just a muted 8th note. It's kind of enhancing what he's doing there. So now let's focus on doing something with the kick. Let's think about meeting the snare at least one of the times it comes around. And then let's mess with that fill too. Something I like to do a lot too. Think very short, repetitive lines. something that is cool and busy, but it's not so musically all over the place that you're in somebody else's way. In that case, it was just a root, a little fill, going back to the root. And I would just repeat that over again. I'm still leaving some room in there. I'm starting with the root note. There's some space, and then I'm doing a little repetitive line. There's still a lot of room for a lot of other instruments to say what they want to say. It's just something that I've always liked to do when it's a groovier drum beat like this is, but doesn't necessarily deserve a big walking bass line. And it's easy for a vocalist or a guitarist or a pianist to kind of slide in that middle because there's still a lot of space there. Another way of looking at it. Another one I like to do is starting what I always call top to bottom. And that is starting with a higher note register and coming down to the one. And the root note is actually one of the last things you play instead of one of the first things you play. So the kind of the fill I was doing, I'm gonna start there and bring it back to the one. Back to this short line. A lot of examples what you can do with the same exact beat. Maybe your job is just to hit the root note. It's fine. That doesn't make it a worse bass line because it's very simple. If it's what is needed, because maybe your vocalist is doing a cool run, maybe your guitarist, it's his song and it's the guitar line is what's most important here. And if that's your job is just to stay on the root note, that's your job. It's no big deal. It doesn't. Less is usually more when it comes time to bass playing. It's something I want you to think about. So what do we really talk about here? We're talking about identifying parts of the drum. The kick, the snare, and then the hi-hats. Mimicking those with our bass. You guys get the idea. Now I'm just kind of having fun with it. So really, I hope this helps you as at least a starting point to what a bass player's canvas looks like. Just when there's really nothing that comes to mind immediately, like you don't already have just the best bass line and you want to start a song off of that, leave it on the drummer. Let's see what he wants to build off of and work with him to take the palette that he's using in his beat, whether it's the kick drum or the snare or the hi-hat, and use those as tools and markers for what your bass line can look like. Whether it's just holding down the root note on the kick, that's fine. Whether it's just accenting the hi-hat with a cool little line, or even like I was doing, just muting it, that's fine too. These are tools that you can use for writing your own bass line as it pertains to dealing with the pocket. I hope this helps. If it was too much at one time, or you want me to break down a specific version of this or one little nuance of it, totally let me know and I can tackle that as well. But I think this is a good launching pad for all of you, and thank you so much for taking the time to look at this. And if you have any questions, let me know, and follow me on Instagram, cody.cook, and thank you so much.